Hey there YouTube, Shepasaurus here with another guide for the Astrologian in Final Fantasy XIV. I recently released a guide on how to set up a card casting macro for the new Dawntrail 7.0 changes Astro received to make casting cards on the desired party member much easier on the controller, and had a request to show my actual hotbar setup with skills, etc. So that's what this video is for. A little disclaimer, the card casting macro does take up about 3 of the buttons, and I will show that in this video. If you want to set up your macros or your controller the same way, you can check out my macro guide, which I have linked below in the video description. I will also break up this video into chapters, so feel free to skip forward to the opener I am working on. It is a work in progress, as obviously I don't have a level 100 yet, but this has been working out for me so far in dungeons. Without further ado, let's get to it. Hotbar setup. First thing you need to set up are your settings if you want it to look like it looks like on my screen. You go over here to character configuration and hotbar settings. You go over to cross hotbar and select enable cross hotbar. I have on always display cross hotbar, use pet hotbar. This is all kind of preference, but to get the cross hotbar to come up, you click enable cross hotbar. Now you can also go over to custom, and this is how I got the hold R2 and L2 to get this button set up, and there's a bunch more ways you can set up your screen. You could have 4 hotbars showing at all times, but I didn't need it, right? This is the number of buttons I need with pretty much every class. Maybe 1 or 2 classes has an extra button. My cross hotbar 3 right, you can choose which cross hotbar you want to display when you hold L2 R2 or R2 L2, and you can make them different hotbars, but I have them both as my cross hotbar 3 right because there's a lot of times when I'm panicking or something, I'll hit R2 before L2, and a lot of times where I hit L2 before R2. So this way, no matter what I hit, L2 or R2, I get these sets of buttons. And again, if you feel like you need more buttons, you can set it up differently so that they go to different cross hotbars, but I haven't found it necessary for that. Enable FFXIV with simultaneous L2 and R2 double tap. So when I hit R2 twice, I'll go to my top right, and I'll go over what buttons I put there and why. And it's mainly set up because I set up every class to kind of be the same. And if I double click R2 on any class, I know I'll have my AoE abilities. If I double click L2 on any class, I know I'll have my travel, my sprint, my limit break, and my surecast or whatever flex button I'll put there. If I'm a caster, it's going to be surecast, right? And say I'm a monk or something that has the self-heal, it'll be that self-heal. It's just kind of set up to however you want. You could also put like True North on Monk, for example. So that gets us what you see now. And there's the top right and top left, which you can put skills on here by going, oh, let me get out of this, by going over to hotbar 4, right? You can see that's where my skills are set up when I double click. And then hotbar 3 is where my L2 plus R2 or R2 plus L2 skills are at. So that's how I set up the settings. Now let's get into the actual layout of the hotbars. And I'll start with the R2 double tap and L2 double tap, which I kind of went over already. My R2 double tap, it's always AoE skills, no matter what class I'm doing. And here, of course, we only have one real attack AoE skill, but I have Gravity 2 in my square slot. My square is typically the starter of my combo in DPS classes, and it's the main attack spell. So when I double click, hit square, I know I'm casting an AoE attack. So Gravity 2 is there. My double click triangle is it's Helios Conjunction now because it just changed, but it's the Helios AoE heal spell that also does regen. So typically, I don't want to waste global cooldowns casting this. This is an emergency. Everyone got hurt. Everyone got hit by mechanics. I need to top them up, and I just want to have a regen going so it slowly fills them up because my star, my other skills are going to keep everyone healed. If you're having a huge emergency and your party's dying, I do have AoE when I hold L2, R2, and I hit the right button, you see I have normal Helios. So this can be used if you're in trouble. Everybody needs healing and you're just panicking. Just L2, R2 and hit this Helios. But you really shouldn't get into the situation where you have to use that, right? So Helios conjunction, I like to just pop that on. Everyone gets a small heal. Everyone's regenerating for a while. It's just an overall nice button. And I typically use it more than just normal Helios. And that's why it's in my easy shortcuts, my double tap here for AoE healing. And then I also have up here Macrocosmos, double tap circle, right? It's AoE heal. You cast this when your party is full and about to take a lot of damage. They take their damage and then boom, they have their health back. And then my star is up here as well. And it's kind of, I use it kind of as a damage ability unless we're progging for something. Not doing any progress for Savage. I'm not sure I'll do Savage this time. I really don't have that much time to play. As you can see, we're pretty far in a couple weeks, I think, into Dawntrail. I'm still only level 97. I just don't have a lot of time to play. We'll go down to the normal R2 button, and this is my main attack skill. Fall Malefic is on my square. My triangle right now is Oracle, and this is your flex spot. You could really put whatever you want here. One thing I was playing with having there was this Sinistry, because I use it a lot. It's a good thing to just pop on a tank or that needs extra healing, especially Dark Knight. I love the Dark Knight class, but they need some extra love in dungeons, let's be honest. So I'll pop that on them. They'll get some extra healing. Or if I have, say, a melee DPS that keeps getting hit by AoEs, Dragoon, I'm looking at you. I'll pop this Sinistry on them, and then when I have to heal the tank with an off-global cooldown, like Essential Dignity or Celestial Intersection, that's what they'll both get healing. So that's great. So square is the Fall Malefic. X is Combust 2. You know, you want to keep this ticking on your boss at all times. When you're doing a dungeon pull, as the tank is picking up mobs, you know, you're just running. You don't want to pull a lot of aggro. You don't want to be putting a lot of heals in the tank because you're just going to pull the mobs off him. What I do is throw Combust on each of the enemies as we're running because it's more DPS and you're not pulling a lot of aggro right away, right? You're giving the tank time to gather up the mobs while the damage sort of slowly builds up. Benefic 2, you know, this is an emergency button. I have it on this circle R2. This is like my main button I hold down, and that's really for Dark Knights. If you have trouble keeping someone up with just your OGCDs and you need to throw a Benefic 2 or a couple of them on the tank, it's right there, right easy to access. Going over to the up, down, left, right, I like to have these as my off-global cooldowns. All my off-global cooldown heals are here. So Celestial Intersection, we already have. I press down, Cure Potency. If you have Nocturnal on, you'll put a barrier. Essential Dignity, you know, heal potency. If they're below 50% HP, it gets even more heal potency. Pressing up is my AoE off-global cooldown. I thought about putting it up here in the double tap R2, but having all my off global cooldowns in the same place just feels real nice to me. So Celestial Opposition in the R2 and press up, and then when I press to the right, Aspected Benefit. This isn't an off global cooldown, but it's an instant cast for when I'm running and I just want to pop a heal over time on someone so that I could just fire and forget, right? So I can easily, holding R2, I can hit Aspected Benefic, and then I can hit 2 more of my off-global cooldowns in between the global cooldown there. It's just really easy to access. Going over to my L2, you know, here's the macro, right? Before we get into the macro, we'll go over our L2 and up, down, left, right. If you're playing on a portal, this can be hard to hit the L2 up, down, left, right, because of how big the screen is, how you're kind of holding it. The portal's a little bit heavier than a controller, so you actually have to kind of like do a claw type handheld grip. So my least used skills are here, including Sun Sign, which I haven't used yet. This Sun Sign might actually end up going over to my triangle button. I'm not level 100, I haven't used it yet. We'll just have to see how that fits in. But right now, I have it over here just as a placeholder. L2 plus hitting right on the D-pad is actually one of the easiest ways easiest buttons over here to hit, even if you're on a portal. So you're never going to hold this, right? This is just going to be a quick tap, because all you really want it for is that Wheel of Fortune effect, which is a regen put on everyone. So you just tap it and continue casting. Always be casting. L2 and down is Divination, right? This is your 2-minute buff here. Every 2 minutes, you're going to be popping this unless your boss is about to go into a, I want to call it a recovery phase, where they stop attacking. You can't hit the boss, or you're all running away from AoEs. You don't want to pop it then and waste any of those precious seconds. And then L2 left is a little bit hard to hit on the portal, but it's fine on the controller. You know, hit this, you get your cards. You should always be getting new cards. You want this to be off cooldown as much as possible, because you should always be casting your cards, right? And then I'm not going to do the card cast right now. I'll do it again, because I want to show kind of an opener rotation. And the best opener rotation is starting here, not with the Umbral Draw, which is what this turned into, but the Astral Draw, which is what's shown here. And actually, fun fact, when you go into a dungeon or a new duty, even if you have no cards drawn, nothing, you start the duty with your Astral Draw completed and your Umbral Draw completely cooled down, which is a really nice quality of life. I love that Square Enix did that. Somebody who designed the game is playing Astro because they did this. That's how I know, because it's such a nice quality of life feature. And if you watch any of my streams, you'll see that as soon as we go into a dungeon, you know, my Astral Draw is already up and ready, and I can use my Umbral Draw whenever. But there's my 1, 2, 3 macros, which you can see in my macro guide. I link down below in the description. But if you look over at the Astral, I think it's like the Astral panel. We can actually look exactly what it's called. It's called Summary Arcana Guide, not Astral Gauge. Okay, Arcana Gauge is what it's called. The Arcana Gauge over here, if you look at it left to right, I have 1, 2, 3, which corresponds to my play 1, play 2, play 3. I'm doing it all in controller, so excuse the mouse movement here. And then I have my Lord of Crowns, which is my minor arcana. That is on my X button. So all my cards are right here. L2, square, triangle, circle, X. Let's go over my other hotbar here. And so that I can use my mouse, I'm just going to switch to set 3 here. And that's over here on the right. And yeah, you can see my Aether Compass over here. I have it set so that I can run around and look for wind currents while we're leveling in Dawntrail. But to look over the skills here, you know, Exaltation, my shield, I would hit L2, R2 and hit shield real quick on square. It's just muscle memory for me, you know. This is really where it's easiest for you to remember. But for me, Exaltation on square, you know, neutral sect on triangle, and this will be used more in Dawntrail than I think it needed to be used for any other expansion, because to cast the level 100 skill here, Sun Sign, you have to be sun touched, which means, I believe, it means you have to use Nocturnal Sect. So this will be used more. Light Speed here, this is used in the opening. This is used quite a bit. Any movement stage. R2, L2, and circle is your light speed. And again, I'll show it in the opener. And I'll go through the opener very slowly. I'm not going to go through it quick. I'm going to walk through each button I press. And so you can follow along if you have your buttons set up the same way. Now, on the X is Horoscope. You know, I'll hit Horoscope here. If everyone needs healing, I'll pop on this Helios Conjunction, so there's a regen going on. I got the Helios Conjunction going on, and if that regen wasn't enough and we're about to get hit again, bam, I can just pop my Horoscope. And I don't have to waste another global cooldown for this Helios, right? I try not to cast Helios at all, because it's a waste of a global cooldown, a waste of Malefic cast, waste of a Combustion class. Cast. It could be used for so many things that actually do damage. And although you're just an Astro, lowest damage, you want to be doing damage. You got to be doing damage. Always be casting. If we go over to my right, down, up, left skills, you know, this is another macro. It's Ascend, which I'll show you in a second. And I have it set to Swiftcast and then cast Ascend, right? So this is a bad button to use for combat, but I find it kind of difficult. One thing that might be the best layout is if you put the normal ascend here and Swiftcast right here instead of Sinistry. And then, this is what I've been playing around with, and then you put Sinistry right here. So that may be the best, because Divination already turns into Oracle, and now you have all the buttons, and you could use Swiftcast on other things. But I've never really had to use Swiftcast, even while progging, on anything other than my raise. And that's why I have this, because it's just easy. Yeah, I hit one button, and it raises someone, right? Let me go ahead and waste that Swiftcast there, and I'll reset this striking bunny. Oh! I have enmity on all these striking dummies. Alright, let's go over here. Let's end this. There's probably a better way to do it, but that's how I know how to do it. And then, lastly, down, Lucid Dreaming. You know, you're always clicking this. You'll do your opener rotation, and you'll weave in Lucid Dreaming after that. And then whenever it's up, you just weave it in. I've been finding that I've been having a lot of MP problems in dungeons, and maybe it's just because I have to heal a whole bunch. I've been getting a lot of Dark Knight tanks, but I've been using this Lucid Dreaming almost on cooldown. I have a feeling if I do get into Savage, or if I do prog, my melds, at least to start off, are going to be Piety, just so I could have that MP regen, but we'll see how that goes on. So let's get into the rotation real quick. This is how I do my opener right now. You know, it could change. It's a lot different from, I want to say a little bit different. It's still the same ideology as the 6.0 Astrologian, but you're not doing, you know, draw card as one of your OGCDs, right? You already have your cards. Your Divination, the 2-minute buffs are going to end before you can get that out. So, we start off with Astral Draw, hopefully. I mean, you can do it with Umbral too. It's just when you pull your cards the second time in your opener, you want to get out your Lord of Crowns as soon as possible to add in that extra DPS. So, we'll start here. Pre-pull, of course, you want to have your star down, right? And then you're going to pop your potion. And then right before pull, you know, right before the tank pulls, you're going to start off with Malefic, you know, R2 square. And in your off global cooldown between, like, see if you cast this Malefic, you still have some time to cast an off global cooldown before you can cast another skill. So I weave in Light Speed here, right? And then I cast Combustion, and I'll use 2 play cards here. I'll do 1. We'll put it on ourselves just because we're the only party member, but I'll put this on a melee DPS because it's balanced. 2, you know, I'll put it on the tank. Let's say I'll put it on the tank. I'll put both the 2 and 3 cards on the tank. Just starting off, putting the 2 and 3 cards just on the tank is the easiest way to get used to the new system. And by this time, my global cooldown is up. I have to cast again, so I'm going to cast Malefic. And this is going to be an instant cast. I'm taking a long time to do this, so my cooldowns wear it off. So that Malefic would have been an instant cast. I'm going to weave 2 more global cooldowns in, right? So it's going to be Divination, and I'm going to cast the 3rd card on my tank. And then we're going to cast another instant cast Malefic, and it's going to be Lord of Crowns and my Oracle here. And you can see I switched to R2 Triangle just because I have that in muscle memory now. But I guess it could be easy just to cast the card and then hit down on the button. So maybe that is the play. Maybe that's what I need to do, is switch that card out. But anyway, that's the first part of the opener. And then we have no cards left, right? So we do our instant cast Malefic, and we're going to do our Umbral Draw. And then we'll do another... If you have the time, if you're quick, like say you're pulling your Lord of Crowns right now, when you do your draw, you'd instantly hit that Lord of Crowns. And then I think you have 1 more instant cast, Fall Malefic, and then you'll just pop, you know, you'll have the spear, so you put it on your range DPS, and you'll throw the other 2 on the tank as well. And then now you're casting again. Then you can get your other card out, right? I tried to put it on the number that my tank would be. And now you're casting again. And that's pretty much the opener. So to go over it again, it's a casting square Malefic, right? Then the Light Speed into Combust, into your cards 1, 2, and then you're going to have an instant cast Malefic, and your Divination, right, and then your other card, and then another quick Malefic, and then you have your Lord of Crowns and your Oracle, and then you have another instant cast Malefic, and you cast your cards, and you put your buff on whoever it is. If it's Beer, you put it on ranged. If it's balanced, you put it on melee DPS. If your tank is about to take some damage, you know you could just hold L2, R2, and you Exaltation on them. It just feels really nice how these buttons are together. And like I said, you know, the one change I'm thinking about making is putting Sinistry where my Oracle button is, and actually breaking up this macro into Ascend up top and then Swiftcast down here. But right now my muscle memory is so ingrained, I don't have it set up that way. But we'll see. I'll figure it out. If this doesn't work out, if I end up doing extremes and stuff, I'll switch it up. I hope this helped you. If you have any more questions or want any more guides, please let me know. Shoot a like and subscribe if this helped you out.